Welcome back to Rise and Shine, the Ability Connection Colorado podcast. My name is Jared, and today's show, we're going to learn more about guardianship, how you can become a guardian, how the resources for you to take care of a relative are all within your reach. And we have people that can be the guardian, or you can be the guardian that you believe you need to be. And we can help you with that. We're going to be talking to Brad Torch from Guardianship Alliance of Colorado. The work they do is, well, for lack of a better word, immensely popular right now. There's more and more people seeking that route and hoping to become the guardian for their loved one. And this episode brought to you by Straight Shot Sporting Clay event. Now, this isn't coming up till August 8th, but we are looking for corporate sponsors. We're looking for people who want the most amazing company outing with food and beverages and games and clay shooting. This is incredibly popular. We're going into our 20th year, raising over, so far, I think $1.4 million with people from all walks of life who really love being a part of the Sporting Clay event. This is out in Broomfield. It's just a wonderful day out in the wild. You get to shoot clays of all levels. And if you want to be a champion, but you're not a good shot, you can buy your way to success. And that all helps Ability Connection Colorado. And we're going into our 20th year for a very popular event. You can go to the website, straightshotsportingclay.org, and be ready for a good time, or even more importantly, be the hero in your office with the most amazing company outing. Okay, now, as promised, hailing from Broomfield, Colorado, fresh off fixing his own 2014 Nissan. This was a big axle job. Before I get into guardianship, I think that's impressive that you took on an axle from a 2014 Nissan. What is this, a Pathfinder?
Pathfinder, yeah.
And so this is big. Like, if somebody's axle goes out, typically they're like, I guess the car's dead.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. You could hear that clicking coming, and so I was just hoping for one more week. But
you went to YouTube and you fixed it yourself.
Yeah.
That's so inspiring. That's incredible. If this doesn't further embolden trust that you will gain as you hear Brad talk, then I don't know what could. Now, you're the head of Guardianship Alliance of Colorado. How did you end up in this position?
So I have served as surrogate decision maker. That includes being a guardian, and I was also a representative payee for a few years. So probably about 16 years total now. I've also worked in some mental health clinics as a case manager. Did some crisis case management, but joined Guardianship Alliance back in 2020, right as the COVID-19 epidemic hit. Moved up to Denver here and joined the team, and worked my way up to being director, but been serving as guardian for a long time. A lot of experience helping people that have different types of issues, including dementia, mental health, serious mental health illnesses such as schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Kind of guiding them through life, helping them live the best life that they can, given the diagnoses that they have.
Yeah, it seems like for a lot of families, discovering you and guardianship must be an incredible source of relief.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of families out there who have, they have children that are born with developmental disabilities, autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and they start approaching the adult years of their life, and the parents do want to be able to let go of their children and let them kind of go into the world and learn how to be an adult just like the rest of us, but they want to have a little bit of oversight because they know the challenges that their children approach. Similarly with elderly individuals with dementia and other neurocognitive disorders, as they start declining and getting a little older, we as our generation, we got to take care of our elders, right? They took care of us. So, stepping in and just making sure that they have the best life that they can live given their disability.
Is there now? I based on my limited knowledge, I'm seeing two branches of your guardianship. You provide care, or you train people to provide that care. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
And you're an online darling because when I look at abilityconnectioncolorado.org, when I'm looking at the statistics, why people are visiting, people are searching guardianship. They're searching forms. They're searching training. Uh, are you seeing an influx of people that are coming in and they're like, give us the answers? How can I do this, or how can you do this?
So the need for guardianship is growing for many different reasons, and so yes, we're seeing a large increase in volume and in requests for help, in referrals for us to become guardian of the individual. So we're continually growing this program. It's it's a challenge, but we're going to do our best to serve as many people as we possibly can.
Now, what when people go to the website and they look up guardianship and they get this training, this is you and your staff. You're training them how to be a guardian, right?
So we do two different trainings. We have one training that's really the difficult task of becoming the guardian of someone, right? You have to go through this court process, which requires tons of forms that are not designed for the layman to complete. Really, this guardianship was originally designed as, you get an attorney and that attorney goes to court. But the need is so high right now and people can't afford attorneys. And so the courts do allow someone who is a pro se individual, meaning that, they don't have an attorney, to petition the court for guardianship. And so we can help by guiding people through those forms, explaining to them what the court is looking for as far as answers to the questions in the forms, and just assisting them in, getting guardianship of their individual. And then we have another class, which is our basically Guardianship 101, where we kind of go through all the basics of being a guardian, the roles and responsibilities, and how to protect yourself as well from, the possibility of someone coming after you and accusing you of something, because that does happen.
Yeah, I can see that families can go a little sideways sometimes when there's interruptions in that would require guardianship. Do you help these people access funding? Is there funding available to them if they become a guardian?
Um, Unfortunately, there is not funding available for guardianship. It is difficult for us to get funding as an organization for guardianship. Um, this is, I would say, it's kind of been off the radar for a long time, and still maybe from a governmental standpoint, and even from a nonprofit standpoint. There's not a lot of nonprofits out there that are really paying attention to this need. Up until this point, there's really been a lot of either public guardianship agencies, for example, state-run agencies, or private agencies, and there's just so many people that are indigent and don't have the ability to pay for guardianship, but still need someone to help provide that oversight.
Then, so that's when you and your staff step in, I'm imagining.
Correct. Yeah. So we try to take as many cases as we can, what we call pro bono cases, unfunded cases. Right now we're full. I think we have about 30 cases that we're serving that are not funded. We kind of support that with our other funding sources, which are some contracts, and we have a few private pay clients that can't afford, and we kind of subsidize our clients who don't have the ability to pay that way.
Wow, I'm just imagining you're busy because
Uh,
you're bringing in people that can be guardians, you're training guardians, and you're finding funding so you can provide more guardianship.
I'm pretty busy, but I got a wonderful staff. I've been blessed to be able to hire the staff that we have. We've got guardians all across the state. They are all trained very well through the National Guardianship Association standards, and they assist in answering questions and helping people with guardianship, as well as serving as guardian for people in their area.
Well, and your organization is just begging for incredible swag, like superhero T-shirts. The guardians of the, your parents. I don't know what. I don't know. There's something there that I need to work on. There's lasers shooting out of your hands. Um, the process then, if somebody is finding themselves in a situation where they can see themselves becoming a guardian, they just go to the website and start the process and get involved with your training.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to Ability Connection Colorado website, I believe it's www.abilityconnectioncolorado.org. And then there'll be a tab there. You can go down to Guardianship Alliance of Colorado. And we do have our training classes there, and you can register. The petition assistance training class is $225. It is about a 3-hour class. We do those classes once every other month on Saturday mornings. And then the guardianship training class is $150, I believe. And that one is held every off month of the other class. So every other month, second Saturday of the month.
And you're up against some stigma issues with guardianship. Is that a problem, or do you even want to talk to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So guardianship is controversial in a way. I'm sure, many of the listeners here have seen we had the Britney Spears situation, the Oler situation, the guy from The Blind Side. And I think the most recent one was Wendy Williams. That one's made
and that's ongoing, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there was still some news about it the other day. And so those situations kind of bring guardianship into a negative light. And so I do like to talk about those things because we do need to dispel those issues. But guardianship is it should be controversial. You're taking rights away from someone. We as guardians have to make the decision where they live. Whether they drive or not, whether they can see certain people. If someone is not a positive influence in their life and is causing problems, we have to restrict that person from causing those problems. And so we have to weigh a lot of different things as a guardian in order to protect the best interests of that individual. Sometimes we are able to ascertain their desires. Sometimes we get involved early enough that we can determine what their wishes are, and we try to follow those wishes the best we can, of course, still protecting the individual. But there's situations where we don't have the knowledge because we didn't know the person before they were unwell, and so we have to make very tough decisions, not knowing how this person would feel about them if they were still able to make those decisions.
Well, and you're walking into a web of family history, perhaps conflict. Is there any portion of the training or any discussion that you've been through just about that? Like, I mean, if there is a family member that doesn't want you to be a guardian or doesn't want someone else to be a guardian, I mean, this sounds like Jerry Springer level.
Absolutely. And, we allow the courts to make these decisions. Most of the courts, I shouldn't say most of the courts, all the courts here in Colorado take guardianship very seriously. Mm-hmm. It's not, we have to go through a process, we're vetted. So, yeah, I mean, we do have cases where there's family members that contest. And, our goal is really we want family to be guardian if they're appropriate, if they're going to really take care of this individual, and we'll assist with that guardianship. I mean, we're available to answer questions and do the best that we can to assist people in becoming guardian. But there are situations where, the family member has a history of taking advantage of an individual or, using them for their money. And so we want to avoid those situations, right? Those are the bad guardianship situations that really make a bad name for us.
And of course, those are the ones that get the press.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The press doesn't follow me around and see all the good work that we're doing all day. really our staff. They're out there every day visiting clients, making difficult decisions. We've got clients that are facing difficulties and end up in jail, into mental health institutions, and we have to make difficult decisions on how we're going to handle those situations.
Well, I've spent some time with your clients and like Brittany, who works with you, and the work that's being done, the goals that you're helping these people achieve, it wouldn't happen any other way, and it's certainly inspiring.
Absolutely, absolutely. And guardianship has changed over time. It really was at one time a restrictive measure, where really, you look at back in the day when we had mental health institutions that were all shut down because of their bad practices, right? Guardianship was around back then. If I was a guardian back then, I wouldn't have allowed those things to happen, or really wouldn't want to have. It was a different time. We didn't know as much as we do now about mental health. But it's really evolved into progressing, helping people progress, helping them learn the skills to live a normal everyday life like you and I do.
Are you hiring right now? Are you seeking volunteers, or is there any way people can be a part of what you're doing?
So we are working on rebuilding our volunteer program. We had actually Guardianship Alliance started as a volunteer program back in 1986, and over time we've just become more involved in the community and into different aspects of guardianship and how we're helping individuals. But our volunteer program kind of went south during COVID. A lot of people were more concerned about their health, as they should have been. But now we are wanting to rebuild that program. So we are seeking volunteers. A volunteer would look like, maybe 2 to 3 hours a month. They would do visits on some of our lower acuity clients, maybe provide them with some assistance, and help them with conversational kind of visiting with them, and helping them just kind of guide them through their life, make sure that they know that there's someone there that cares about them.
No, it seems like a good opportunity. I mean, it's easy to get overwhelmed, and to know that there's something like that it's active now. Like, if people wanted to contact you or contact someone. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a vetting process. We do need to make sure that there's not a criminal background or any reason for us to be worried about anything. But yeah, I mean, really anybody can be a volunteer, and it's not a difficult job at all. It's really just being a friend and paying attention and understanding what's going on in someone's life.
So what's the stories that stick out? Of course you're forced to talk about the negatives so that you can set yourself apart, as you have with some of the guardianship stuff that unfortunately makes national news that really doesn't represent what you do. What does represent what you do? What are the stories that you're seeing right now?
So one of our primary jobs is we do work with the state hospitals, and when someone is admitted with severe mental illness, we are really tasked with getting guardianship of that individual if it's warranted, and helping them get back out into the community, rather than living in a hospital or an institution. And sometimes, in the community looks like nursing facility. Sometimes it looks like an assisted living facility. Sometimes it's living independently. That does happen. We do have clients that will progress to that point. We do have a video that's kind of gone around on LinkedIn. Robbie, he's a great story. Gosh, 2 years ago, I couldn't even see him where he is now, but he's got that motivation. And if you haven't seen the video of Robbie, you got to check it out on our LinkedIn page, Ability Connection Colorado's LinkedIn page. It's a very heart touching story. You spent some time with Robbie, so you kind of know.
Oh yeah. So yeah, because I loved what he was saying, is that doctors told him he'd never work, and to see the pride in him when he's getting this job.
Yeah, and again, like 2 years ago, it's he was not there. I don't know that that we saw that in the near future. But we were able to get him into a placement that really fit for him, and he just gained that motivation and really started working towards it, and it's just been awesome to see. That's one good story. But there's hundreds more. I mean, every single person we get out of the hospital, they're flourishing. They're doing well. We rarely see people going back into the system. And these are people who may have been to the mental health hospital numerous times in their lives. And to get them out and see that they're not going back for 2, 3, 4, maybe ever, that's great to see.
Well, and just on the other side, when the family I met with in Colorado Springs, who Guardianship was caring for this man's brother, who I think had some personality disorders. He also had Huntington's, and he had died. But visiting them at the service and how complimentary they were, that there were people there that could help them help him up to the end, was pretty overwhelming in a positive way.
It's amazing how a small change in someone's life can make a difference, especially that are family. These families, sometimes they've been battling for years trying to help their loved one kind of gain some insight into their illness, or just be a family member. And a lot of the times people push them away, and when we get involved, we really push family. It's such a big thing to have that support. And the response that we get from families is great, because they're able to reconnect with their loved one in a way that they haven't been able to in a long time, because they don't have to worry about making those difficult decisions. They can just be a family member and be a love and a support for them.
Yeah, and just to have the support, to be the support person, that must mean a lot, because you're being dangled over all kinds of new experience, and to have an organization like yours that supports you in your endeavor has to really provide not just the information and confidence to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. This conversation reminds me of a client that we just lost recently. And she's a very good example of someone that, we, in a short period of time, we were really able to change some lives. She had a very rough life, a lot of trauma. She had a grown daughter who lived with her, who was addicted to drugs. And, they were both struggling with substance use. When we got involved, they were living in a home, a condominium that she owned, and it was very unkempt and just not a safe place to live. And the detriments of the addiction were really affecting her. And so we were able to get her out. I believe at that time the fire department had told us that she had made over, I think for 3 years in a row, it was like over 100 phone calls to 911. So she was really putting a drain on the local emergency services there. So they really said, we got to do something about this. So we got involved. We got her placed into a very nice assisted living. She did have dementia, and she declined very quickly. I think we were guardian of her for about 6 months before she passed. But the value in that was that she was able to pass away in dignity. Mm-hmm. She wasn't surrounded by the trash that was in her apartment, or laying on the mattress that was covered in, whatever it was. She was able to live the last 6 months of her life in a clean environment with support and nursing staff, and family was able to speak with her and visit with her. And so even though, she only had 6 months left of life in her, she flourished in those 6 months for what she could.
Well, that's a sad story, but overall, it's uplifting to hear that you could be there in those situations.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, we never want to see any of our clients pass away. But the clients that we get, sometimes they're in situations where they've just been fighting their whole life, and so most of our cases aren't like that. But we do have some that do pass due to their illnesses, and so it's sad. It's sad to see. It's something that you never get used to. I've heard that from doctors before. Like, you're in an emergency room every day. You don't ever get used to that. You never are okay with someone passing, obviously, but to be able to step in and give them that dignity for the last time of their life, it's heartwarming.
And it seems like just a few hours and you could be on the road to helping someone live a better life, including your own.
Yeah, absolutely. We do occasionally have people that kind of realize that their cognitive abilities are kind of slowing down, and they'll reach out and say, I'm thinking about, guardianship or getting a power of attorney. I don't have any family. Is this something that you guys do? And we do both. We do power of attorneys as well. We don't do a whole lot because we don't advertise that. And maybe this is an advertisement for it. But if you are seeking someone to make medical decisions for you or other decisions, if you kind of see that your health is maybe declining or expecting that, or have a family member that's going through that, we can help in any way that we can. We can help you with a power of attorney, which is a little bit less restrictive than a guardianship. Doesn't have to go through the court process. More of a voluntary kind of, I need help. But then we also do the guardianships as well.
No, that's a big go-to. Oh, that's your clock. I think there's an alarm going off. You better get out of the building. No, that's great. So because that's like I was saying, on the Google searches, I'm seeing people search. There's a form, like a 504, some kind of form that people are looking for too. I don't know if there's any forms that you help people. It could be might be a different state or something.
Maybe the JDF 849.
Yeah, what is that?
That, I believe it's JDF 849 or JDF 850 is the annual report. So as a guardian, you have to report to the court, right? You're accountable to the court at least once a year. And so there's a form that you have to complete and submit to the court once a year. And so I'm guessing a lot of people search for that one.
Well, that's good. Well, I don't know. Keep it up. It seems valuable. Well, it is valuable to be able to do a few hour training and, start that process. Seems like something that people can only typically previously hope for.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people take the either one of the trainings, me or my staff are available to answer questions. We're going to do everything we can to help you finish getting guardianship of your loved one. That's what we do. We're gonna stick with you until you are successful.